Ark Rex, by far the most used creature in all of Ark. But why? Why is a dino that was introduced nearly a decade ago still the most used creature? It isn't the strongest, nor the weakest, nor the best at a boss fight, so why is it still so popular? Tyrannosaurus dominum or Rex was introduced along with the game in June of 2015, thus making it part of a shared collection of oldest creatures. It was meant to be a strong, bulky terror, having nearly double the health of its direct competitor, the Spino. It was on release by far the strongest creature in Ark Survival Evolved. Its first major update was on February 10 of 2018, where it got its TLC and current look. Throughout the years, Ark has had its fair share of new creatures brought to the game. Little to none rivaled the Rex at first. Later on, TLCs and such brought the playing field more even. Regardless, the Rex still remains as the most used creature in Ark. Its prowess in fighting bosses, along with being a really strong tame in general, made it very common. Every tribe has Rexes. This should indicate how, after nearly a decade, the Rex is still dominant. Its ability to continuously keep up with newer creatures in terms of boss fighting and even normal combat, despite its last true update being over 5 years ago, the Rex was truly ahead of its time. To fall back on the previous chapter, throughout the years Studio Wildcard has introduced plenty of new creatures and updates to old ones. The biggest competition to the Rex was always the Spino. In ASE, the Spino is stronger than the Rex. If I remember correctly, its swipe attack does more damage per second. In Ark Survival Ascended, every way put, the Spino is weaker. Second bit of competition comes from the main creatures. The Shadow Main, introduced in patch 329.5, Genesis Part 2, and the Pyramane, introduced in patch 4514, the center on Ark Survival Ascended. Both have been shown to be stronger than the Rex, but are more tedious to tame and aren't available on all maps. The third competitor to the Rex is the modded creature, the Acro. The Acro is a bruiser. It's a tough, tanky version of the Rex, with higher HP but slightly lower DPS. The Acro comes from the mod Ark Additions. I've used one of their creatures in a prior video and continue to use the mod in the Let's Play series on Svartalfheim. You should go check that out. The Acro is an alternative to the Rex. It can become adrenalized and does more damage and attacks faster. Its running speed is also higher than the Rex. If I'm not mistaken, it also has more stamina. This creature is stronger by the Rex by far if used correctly. This brings me to my next point, which is map coverage. The Rex or variants of it are available on every map besides Aberration. This makes the Rex very common around Ark. You can find Rexes essentially in every biome as well. You can find them in forests, redwoods, mountains, flatlands. You can find them essentially everywhere, so they're a very common tame. Now, if I were to only talk about map coverage for the Rex, this segment would be extremely short, so we're gonna be talking about the other creatures as well. The Spino is in fact available in every map. Its map coverage is thus better than the Rex's, so you can find Spinos on Aberration, essentially just everywhere where there's a bit of water you can find a Spino. Now onto the main creatures. The Shadow Mains are only available on Genesis Part 2 and Fjordur. These maps have not been released on Ark Ascended yet. Its counterpart, the Pyromane, is available on Ark Ascended. It's available on the maps The Center and Scorched Earth. If I'm not wrong, the Pyromane is available in the center near the volcano, and on Scorched Earth they are essentially everywhere, or I believe in the Wyvern Trench. The Acros are essentially the same as the Rex. They spawn everywhere besides Aberration, so just wherever you can find a Rex, you can find an Acro. Most of these creatures are available on every map, the winner of this being the Spino, well, in quotations winner, as it's located on every single map. Essentially, my conclusion is what I believe is the reason for the Rex being such a dominant creature is that it's located essentially everywhere. It outcompetes the Spino in Ascended, which is a newer game which we're going to be focusing on. The only competition for it is modded, and obviously the Rex is just a ridiculously popular creature. It's featured in amazing pop movies like Jurassic World and such. So obviously it's a very popular creature. Now, what I think is gonna happen is the Rex is gonna be remaining as the most dominant creature in Ark until a Garuga's Acro is introduced into the game completely. We've seen this happen with the Ceratosaurus, which is now integrated into the game proper. The Rex's overall balance makes it favorable to use against basically every boss in the game, aside from like the King Titan and the CMC, which you basically have to do nothing with Rexes or anything. It's a crowd control creature. I'm gonna go over every single boss while making my conclusion. The Megapithecus, which is the easiest boss in Ark, you just bum rush it with Rexes and it dies. Uh, it's just a big fat monkey and it doesn't do anything besides throw a rock at you. And if you have good saddles, you can beat it easily, even with non-imprinted Rexes. The Broodmother is also an easy fight. It's a bit harder, but with enough decent level Rexes and with decent saddles, you can tank enough damage and you just bomb rush it as well. Dies really quickly. Now the dragon is where I see issue. The dragon has that buff against carnivores, so it does extra damage against the Rex, making it a bit harder. Also, the damage over time kind of negates the fact that you have saddles. The Overseer as well. It's a very, well, not really a super hard boss, but the fact that the dragon is in there kind of also negates and will drain your Rex's HP, making it a harder fight. Still, I would recommend Rexes for this fight, as the other two bosses will die really quickly because of it. Now, moving on to Scorched Earth, we have the Manticore. Manticore is an easy boss fight. The Rexes will dominate this fight due to the fact that the Manticore has low health and damage. You can just tank him and continue. Yes, I know the Manticore has a shield, but the shield barely does anything. As long as you have decent level Rexes, you will be able to just shred the Manticore. Rockwell, well, obviously Rockwell is impossible because Rexes don't spawn on Aberration. If they did, a Rockwell would die really quickly because the tendrils have very little HP. You can do this boss with Megalosauruses because it's Aberration, and you can see how quickly the tendrils die and the Rockwell boss dies. The CMC, or Corrupt Master Controller, is a ridiculously hard boss. I believe it's the hardest boss in Ark. You have to dismount a lot, and Rexes don't really help a lot aside from crowd control, because of the stupid Gigas and stuff bum rushing you. I don't think you can solo this, so you need Rexes, or you need Alos, or you need anything else like Shadowmanes and stuff if you are in a cluster. Rockwell Prime essentially useless due to the boss being mainly on foot or in the exomech. I mean, you can use them, but it's just not really useful. For the King Titan, you're better off using Gigas, as there's no limit to what you can bring. If you have some insane level imprinted Rexes with like 300,000 HP and they do like 20k damage, that's something else. But Gigas are overall the better choice in this fight. Ending this off, the Rex's popularity in pop culture, along with outmatching nearly every unmodded creature, just continues to make it still the king of Ark. And as I said, I believe until Garuga's Acro is properly introduced into the game, the Rex will still remain the most dominant creature in Ark. If you want to see more content, click the right or left video and